Yeah. Yep.
So that McKenna guy,
beat up on what was it, Stonehill this weekend? Beat up on Clarkson, maybe was it? We're breaking down Gavin McKenna highlights tonight. We're not getting into any of the game. None of that. We're gonna break down Gavin McKenna. Who's the kid from North Dakota? The big defenseman.
Verhoff. 6'4", D, man. He'll be in the NHL next year.
You need depth on D, especially after nights like tonight. Maybe he'd be a good fit. That'd be a good fit. Live Bruins beat after this one. We decided to keep it because come and vent. We're gonna vent. Yes. We're pissed. We had to watch it with you. But first, people we're never pissed at. We love them. Prize Picks. We're brought to you by Prize Picks. Promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And of course, we're presented by CLNS Media. What a day, by the way, for CLNS. Holy crap. From like 5 to, probably like 1:30 in the morning, there's stuff. Garden Report, this, Pat stuff. I mean, it's a packed day. It's like a sports equinox day. Bruins, though, I mean, holy crap. 7-2. Lose to the Senators 7-2. That was atrocious. No progress, a complete step back. It looked just like last season. The same kind of losses. Morgan Geekie scores your goal. You score garbage time one late. Horrendous defensively. Completely gave up. The goalie didn't help you at all. That is as bad a game all around as I've seen in a long time. By the way, we're not just going to... A lot of people are coming in. We're not just talking this game. We're going to get into if they're actually this bad for the rest of the year, which I think I know what the answer to that is going to be. And we're going to get into Zacha's trade rumors. So we're getting everything, but obviously this game.
Yeah, pretty dreadful, Evan. Completely uncompetitive, a no-show. They got pantsed up in Ottawa. You already knew it was going to be a pain in the ass game. Set at 7:45. You knew something was off anyway. But no, I agree. Like, listen, this is their 7th loss of the year in 11 games. There's been a lot of disheartening losses, a lot of setbacks that afterwards, when we talk about it, you want to rip your hair out, right? You can look at the Florida game with the Sam Reinhart goal. Or you can look at the Anaheim game, which probably was maybe the lowest his team has gotten, right? Where kind of a seesaw game, you fight back and you still, cough up those goals after you score a couple. There hasn't been a lot of positives, but if you are hopping on the moral victory or the silver lining train throughout what was been a pretty ugly start to the year, you could at least have the caveat amid how dog water the defense has been, how uninspiring the overall talent level of this team up front has been, all those things. You could at least say, well, it looks like they give a damn. They're working their ass off. They're in these games. They're coming up short in these 1-goal losses. And again, it's not going to placate people, nor should that be how you should have it be your main takeaway of this team. Like, the standard has to be higher in a market like Boston and a team like the Bruins. But where expectations were so low, you could at least look at what they were doing in the first 10 games of the year. Be like, man, this team doesn't have the horses. They keep on making these mistakes, but they're hanging around. They're scrapping, they're clawing, they're trying to stay in these games. They're trying to be competitive. I'm not saying they are, but they're putting worth the effort. You saw none of that today. You saw the 24-25 Bruins, uncompetitive, making the same mistakes, letting things snowball, getting frustrated, taking dipshit penalties, all these things that it just felt like a lot of what we saw last year. And let me tell you, Evan, I hated last year. Last year sucked in terms of just again, not even from the fans who invest the money and their time to support the team they've been cheering on for a long time. It's not fun for us writing about it when it's a lot of the same outcomes, the same results, the same mistakes, all that stuff. And it feels like, if you were to ask me how many games were, 6-2, 7-1 last year, I would say there was 10, 15.
All of them.
Every
game was that.
That's kind of what the 24-25 Bruins felt like, right? Where you knew what the script was. I've said it before. It was watching a really shitty spinoff of The Land Before Time, where, listen, first one's great, pulls at the heartstrings when Littlefoot's mom goes to the great beyond, man. It's sad, but I don't need 28 of the same script over and over again. I know what's going to happen. I don't. And you saw the Bruins follow the same exact script for most of last year, where they were just outgunned, didn't have any defensive fortitude, would let go of the rope on numerous occasions. And I think that's why this game is the most disheartening one out of what has been quite a few losses at the start of the year, because it feels like it's not two steps back. It felt like you took a step back into last year, and holy hell, that is not a good sign for the Bruins if you're going to get more of what last year was, unless you're looking at a top 3 and 5, top 3, top 5 pick. But right now, if you're going to see that effort, I think especially, and I think that's what I'm hopping on, right? Like, we know the limitations of this roster. We know their weaknesses. The effort wasn't there today, and that sucks, and that's embarrassing.
It is. I mean, this was a top to bottom pantsing. Like, nobody played well. And you're to add on to your point, Connor, like 100%. You have a lot of losses there at the beginning of the year, last week, the week before, where you are competitive. You fight back. It's like, okay, that's something. I still don't think, we said time and time again, this team lacks talent. This team is not well built. It is a bridge year. But to have the defensive breakdowns you had on Monday night, I mean, we could go through all the goals. It's mostly the same. There was the McAvoy, Lowry, Corrali, Hustendinov play in the second. I think it was Batherson's goal. Then I think Cousins' goal in the third. It was 1-on-5.
Yeah.
Zadorov and Middlestat and
No
Zacha
show.
are just looking to not. I mean, again, they don't care. Like a night like tonight, that is a no-show, just didn't show up performance. Like, that was lackadaisical. And by the way, they don't have the talent. They don't have the talent. You see it. I mean, I think they outshot Ottawa, but I don't have the natural stat trick in front of me, because if I opened it up,
I think it was 29-23, I believe.
And high danger chances, Ottawa killed you in that, most likely. Yeah. Like, you're not getting it to interior ice. Ottawa, by the way, packs it in front of their own net. So, like, you weren't really getting to interior ice. You don't. So, like, you're playing a whole new system. Everybody's hesitant on it. And by the way, do they really have the talent to play man? Hit me tonight. It's like, do they have the speed? Do they have the team speed to play man? It's a hybrid, too. So, like, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. So they can't figure out when it is and isn't. And then they don't have the talent or the speed to actually play man. So they're just chasing guys around the zone. Yeah, and guys are getting into interior ice. And it's like a good power play gets you out of position. Well, it looks like teams are on power plays against the Bruins in their own zone. And no one clears out the front of the net. The McAvoy Lowry thing behind the net was awful.
Got to stop. I mean, it's got to. They got to split them up. Like, what more do you need to see?
And by the way, they split them up, and Zadorov takes a penalty 8 seconds into the third. They're not mentally locked in at all. Like, that's not. There's talent, and then there's just not locked in. And it's funny. I was talking to Razor last week, and I really liked Scott McLaughlin's questions after, was it Thursday night's game? Tuesday nights, the Panthers one, where he's like, our guy, or it might have been Thursday, one of the games, one of the losses, one of the many. And Scott said, to every player, is it disheartening? Are you afraid that you might stop pulling on the rope if you're this close, but you're coming up this, short every time? And Razor's like, oh, they're professional athletes. They never have, they never stop trying. And I'm not saying they're not trying, but nights like tonight look like just toss it in the towel. Like, just give it up. And by the way, your goalie didn't bail you out.
Yeah,
but he also didn't play well enough in front of him. It's not like you had this phenomenal game and Swayman let in 7. I'm not defending Swayman, by the way. He played.
Yeah, awesome. He wasn't sharp today. It's just who actually was good today, right? Like, and again, like I almost feel like when we talk about like these games lately, especially this year, I feel like it feels like we sometimes can skirt over when the goaltending has left a lot to be desired. Like, even like the 6-5 game against Vegas, it was far from his best game. There's a couple of those goals you look back and being like, oh, you needed a save here or there. But I also don't think like he was the reason why you lost that game. And I feel like he's not the main conduit. He's not the main reason why they again got pants, 7-2 in this one. You just needed a few more saves here and there for him. But like, what chance does he have if that defense is the way it is? Like if you got everyone having a picnic behind the net and leaving guys uncovered up front, like you're putting your goaltender, who I think if you want to look at what Swayman's done this year, right? He entered today's game, I think, with the 8th best goals saved above expected, which I think is kind of like the new metric people are looking at for goaltending of like, it factors in like the shot quality that the goalie's facing. So if your team is crap in front of him and he's still making saves, it shows you that he's keeping you in games, and it doesn't really rely on like a stout defensive team juicing up a goalie's numbers. So I think you see that Swayman has the means of being a good goalie, a top 10 goalie, even with like a lackluster defense in front of him. But you're not going to be able to do it night in, night out, and especially when your defense is hanging you out to dry like they did today. So it wasn't great, but far from, I think, the main issue.
Yeah, it's bad. And like, this person asks, hey fellas, why did Sturm change the D pairings for this game from winning Saturday? I don't know. But it runs deeper than even D pairings. Like, I think we can agree Lowry's not a top pairing defenseman. Zadorov's not a top pairing defenseman. McAvoy is not playing like a top pairing. I mean, McAvoy looks lost out there. And that's really
Lindholm's absence is killing this team right now. And it's like, you also can't, rush him back, right? Because you saw like he comes back probably too early and he's now in this weird kind of holding pattern. And I don't know if he's going to get cleared for Tuesday's game or whether it's you wait until Thursday or whatever it may be. But like his absence and the fact that now he's got this thing that even if he does come back this week, you got that fear in the back of your head of like a lingering, if it's a muscle injury or what have you, does not bode well, because this team, the last 2 years, has primarily played without Hampus Lindholm in the lineup, and the defense has been trash as a result.
Terrible. And it's killing them. It's hampering them. By the way, they play tomorrow night.
They sure
They're
do.
home against the Islanders, and they're back home for a bit. And, again, like I see people in the comments, this roster sucks. Like there's no talent. I'm not saying it sucks. They don't suck. But like they nights like tonight when, Pastrnak had an off night, you didn't really notice him much. McAvoy's been really struggling. Those guys aren't going. What do you got? Like Geeky pitches in a goal. Geeky's been consistent. I think one of the bright spots at the start of this season is last year does not seem like a fluke. He seems to be a real goal scorer for you, which is good. What else is there? Like what talent-wise? What do you have? And, even your bottom six has been relatively good the first bit of the season. And like they didn't do a heck of a lot tonight. But like, the piss and vinegar stuff, like Tanner Jeannot. What are you getting from Mikey Asimont? What are you getting from these guys right now? And they're not a talented team. They are not that talented. And there are games like Saturday against Colorado where they pull out a win. And hell yeah. And I say the stuff about effort, and I say the stuff about, it looks at times like they don't care. And I do think they care. I'm not, they've not given up. But nights like tonight make you wonder. Nights like tonight look it. And as we've said, Connor, numerous times last year, every team has games like these throughout an 82-game season. Some nights you just don't have it. But they had a lot of these last year. And so far, they've lost 7 of their last 8. This is not the
all
time.
All in regulation.
No points, except for Saturday when they won. This ain't the time to drop a 7-2 stinker. Not the time. Against Ottawa, who has no Brady Tkachuk. Linus Olmark wasn't in that. It's a Monday night game. Like, yeah, they're not good.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can cut them some slack or whatever it may be when you look at just how much trash product that Bruins fans had to watch last year. And I think that's why this one is so disheartening, right? Because it just feels like whatever limited progress you want to see from this team. And it's kind of like what we talked about before the year started, Evan, right? Of, the early preseason predictions aren't going to age very well, I think, right now, based on the way they're playing, of when I was mapping out how this team could be competitive. But I think even when you saw the first few games of the year when they were losing but coming up short, you lose to Vegas after clawing back, you at least saw a team that feels like, all right, the results aren't there, but you're seeing some progress, especially you can only kind of go up from what last year was. And this one feels like it just was a complete regression. It's almost kind of like you saw what the the Celtics with like the Isaiah Thomas years, right? Where like, and again, they kind of took off, but that first year they were still like a fringe playoff team, got hot at the end, were scrappy, and you could at least see some like signs of progress. And this team still had like, talent between Pastrnak and Geeky, and like you were hoping the power play was going to rebound, and they could gut their way through like at least some consistent points. Well, that feels like it's a far cry from what you're seeing, because it's what has been the most surprising thing is not just the fact that they're generally landing enough punches offensively to stay in these games. It's the defense just completely imploding. Like you're getting next to nothing from a group that, I'm not saying you got like a elite Hall of Fame crew out there, like a 6-man unit, but man, you were expecting Charlie McAvoy to tighten his game up. You were expecting, obviously, Hampus Lindholm to be healthy, and that's obviously thrown a wrench in it. But weren't you expecting, like, Mason Lohrei to at least show some signs of progress, right? Haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Like, you're just seeing so many guys that are just passengers. And Marco Stern mentioned last week, like, he needs to get guys on the bus. Was anyone there today? Did everyone miss the bus?
No, bus left early.
Everyone sleep through the alarm. Early. Actually, I don't think people even were at the bus stop. Like no. You got a complete no-show from what you saw today. And I think that's the disheartening thing. Like if this team was coming up short and they aren't making the playoffs and they're in line for a top 10 pick, but you're seeing like some signs of a team that gives a damn. I feel like Bruins fans, you'll have the ones who are like, oh, they should just completely tank. And I get that. But you can at least look at what the team was trying to do and be like, all right, they're trying to be a hard out. They're trying to be entertaining, trying to be competitive. If you're going to get more of what Monday's game was the rest of this year, God bless you, Bruins fans, because that's going to be ugly, and it's embarrassing if you have to be subjected to that for another year in a row. This team, regardless of the talent, should not be getting blown out routinely like you saw today. And that is the concerning and embarrassing part of what played out today up in Ottawa.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I tweeted the clip of us last week at the Garden, and I was saying, I'm not ready to call them a bottom of the league team. Like I still think they're a middle of the pack, below average, middle of the pack team. And someone replied and said, because my basis for thinking is like you have Pastrnak, you have McAvoy, you have Swayman. At least those three keep you in like 18th, 19th in the league, 20th maybe. And someone replied and said, the Abs of 2017 had McKinnon and Landeskog and Duchesne and all them, and they were terrible. And my thought was like, no, but those guys were young. They were not in their prime yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were not in their prime in 2017. They are now. They have been the last couple of years. I mean, Bergeron and Chara were on that 06-07 Bruins team that was awful. But Chara, McAvoy, Pastrnak, Swayman are in or right on the cusp of their primes. And this is what you're getting. You're in last. You're in last in the Atlantic. You played, I think, the most games in your division, or you're tied for the most. No, you're the most right now. You're 8 points in 11 games. That is awful. Awful. And it begs the question, like, is Gavin McKenna a real possibility? Are the Bruins destined? Are we going to be watching for a top 5 pick all year? I want to talk about that in a second. But first, Connor, our friends over at Prize Picks. We love our friends at Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. I usually highlight hockey, but not today. Football, though. Drake May. How about him? How about Drake May? I go more passing yards with Drake May whenever he's playing. I just think he's incredible. I can't get enough of Drake May, actually. He would be my pick. And then, offensively, Stephon Diggs keeps getting fed the ball. I love that. So I would go more yards on him. Prize Pick, simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Download the app today and use that code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. It's good to be right. Over on
It is good to be right.
You like that tease? Gotcha. What were you gonna say?
Before we obviously, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about like big picture stuff and like Zacha especially, but also like
Bruins
you
Network.
look at
There's a
what.
C between the T and the H. Come on. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
I'm
come on,
kidding.
bro.
He did correct himself.
Relax,
Anthony
buddy.
corrected himself.
Okay, good. But you look at like what the mandate was and what like the supposed identity of this team was going to be going into the year, right? You can look at, piss and vinegar, all this stuff. I look at like what they said, countless times, both in July and then they reiterated them in September of like, this team's going to be a hot out. And again, like we've discussed this before, but for me, I viewed hard out as a team that maybe doesn't have the horses. Maybe he's not going to outskill, going to be able to like pad, multi-goal leads or anything like that. But they're going to work their ass off. They're going to be miserable to play against. They're going to give a shit. And it's going to mean you're going to have kind of like what the games you saw early on this year where they're maybe not coming on the right side of the scoreboard, right? They're not coming away with wins, but they're at least being competitive, right? They're trying to fight for those spots. And where was any of that today? Like, where exactly was the piss and vinegar, the being a hard out? And of like the way that game's going sideways, are you gonna like muck things up? Not to sound like a caveman. Are you gonna get physical? Are you gonna like? I look at like Nick Cousins, who has been a rat in the league for a long time, threw a hissy fit after getting called for that penalty, and then he comes out and scores a goal in your face and screams in your face, and you do jack shit. Like, is that a tough out? Is that the piss and vinegar? Is that a team that maybe doesn't have the horses, maybe doesn't have the skill? Maybe you have to change your expectations for a team known for winning. But man, they're going to have the other team got the ice bags lined up after the game because they're gonna, land some welts. They're gonna be physical. They're gonna make life miserable for a team that, yeah, maybe they come away with a win, but you're gonna see them give a shit out there on the ice. You saw none of that today. You saw an empty calorie game. It was a bunch of eating celery stalks out there. Nothing. There was nothing out there at all. And I think that is also frustrating. Like, if this team is not going to be stacking up points in the standings, they're not going to be a riveting product. We're not going to be watching this team in April and May. At least give like the Bruins fans who are still going to these games, who are still packing the Garden, who
Paying
are
a
still
ton for tickets, by the way,
that are still invested in this team that they've been cheering on for years. Give them something to root for. Give them something that at least, if it's not wins, you're getting some sort of entertainment factor. You got nothing today. And I think that also is compounding of why it's just so frustrating. And again, like we talked from an angle of like covering the team and all this stuff. I feel just bad for the fans who are invested in this team, the fans who are commenting on this live stream, who care deeply about their team and want them to succeed. And I think also what I appreciate about Bruins fans in this market, though, is that Bruins fans are also have high standards, but they're really smart hockey fans, and they know when to adjust their expectations. That if you told people like, hey, this team's got some tough sledding ahead, but like, hey, they're going to be a pain in the ass. You're going to have a couple of scraps. You're going to have them be physical. They're going to be an entertaining product as they kind of reload. I bet you get a lot of buy-in from Bruins fans, as painful as it might be. Where was that today? And I think that is what is driving me crazy as far as like why I feel bad for fans that are watching this right now.
And they know when they're getting fed a load of bullshit.
Yeah.
And they were fed a lot of it at the end of season press conference last year and the beginning of season press conference this year in terms of, they're going to be competitive. And I'm with you, Connor. Like, and you saw it in those first couple games, those wins where like they stood up for each other. They would get in scrums. They did things that a typical Bruins team would do in years past, and fans would be like, hell yeah, I don't care if we lose a bunch of games. If this is what we're watching every night, I'm in. And you're not getting that right now. Again, like you said it, you're down a ton in the third. The game is getting away. Where is anyone trying to get a fight going? Where is a scrum? And we are like very progressive with this stuff. We are like, this is stupid. You're building a team for 1996, and I still think that. But it's the team you have. That's, and there's nothing. And I don't even fully blame Sturm. Like, Sturm just got here. These are problems you've had for a while. Like, I don't know. What's the leadership group on this team like? What's that room like? Is that still a good room? Didn't seem it last year. And I don't know. It seemed okay at the beginning of the season, like 3 weeks ago. Doesn't seem great right now. And it leads me to this. Are they a team that's this bad? Are they this bad? Are we going to be reviewing film like now of projected top 5 picks? Are they a top 5 bad team in the league? And we said time and time again over the summer, at the end of last year, okay, it happened last year. Okay, it happened, right? If it happens again, it's a catastrophic failure. I mean, through, 11 games? They sure look like it. It sure looks like it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say they're officially a top 5 projected team, but they're on their way. I can tell you right now, a lot of people in our comment section, a lot of people watching, God bless you all. I bet you got Tankathon open on the other tab. I guarantee it. I do. I can sit here and get number 1 quick. But are we, is this going to be the whole year? Feels like it right now. I don't want to make any declarative statements, but it feels like it.
I mean, like, where is like I don't know, where's the optimism of like, yeah, they've been like competitive in the first 10 games, but what is going to be like the savior that like completely rights the ship, right? Because like you're getting, you haven't had like a complete takeover game from David Pastrnak yet, but he's still scoring, right? You've got Marinofsky doing his part. You're getting guys chipping in, and you could have a game similar to like Saturday against Colorado where you pack things in, you clog up the neutral zone, you have a strong showing from Swayman. You kind of have some boring stretches of hockey, some stretches where you're on the ropes, but you do enough to pack it in. You can come away with a win. Can you consistently do that though? Like even if you look at the numbers, you peek underneath the hood from that game on Saturday, they were smoked as far as like the disparity of high danger looks. And that's something that usually paints a picture of a team that it's not a sustainable way to consistently get points, especially when you're going to get some regression. You're going to have situations where the way guys are playing, some of that scoring you're getting, especially in the bottom 6, right, is going to dry up. I don't expect, I've been wrong before, but I don't expect Marinofsky to be a 50-goal scorer. So I just think you look at the personnel you have here. Where's like
Gavin McKenna, you are a Boston Bruin is already a Twitter handle.
There you go. Nice Photoshop effort.
That rocks. I love that.
Well done. But like you look at the personnel they have here. No, like you look at what they have. What is going to be like the thing that reverses their fortunes, right? Like even when they were being competitive, you still just didn't have quite enough. Is like Lindholm coming back from injury going to right the ship? Is even like calling up a Patra or a Lysell or Blumel that maybe can help you, but also like, is it realistic to be like, oh, you're going to call up Blumel and he's going to end up being Craig Smith. He's going to score 20 goals down the stretch, or, Lysell's going to break through. That'd be great, but I also don't know how realistic that is either. It's not like you're, waiting for James Hagens or something. He can join the team in December, right? Like this team kind of is what it is. And yes, like I'm expecting and you hope they start calling up the younger kids, but I also don't. I think that's more of seeing a different look, a different player, and giving young guys an opportunity, not expecting that to change the course of what this team's season is going to be. And so I look at just the way this team is built. Yeah, even if they tighten things up, I still just don't think they have the talent to hang around, at least with the way they're playing right now, not just in today's game, but over the first 11 games. If these flaws continue, they're not going to be stacking up points.
100%. And I think young guys coming in put pressure on the vets, which is good. Put pressure on guys like Middlestat and Arvidsson and, anyone, Janot, Acemont. I think that's a good thing. Not all of them. You're not bringing up 4 at once, obviously, but you know what I mean. You can't expect them to turn your season around. Absolutely not. But it's also seeing what you got. Like, can these kids play? Can a Blumel play at the NHL level? Can a Patra do it consistently at the NHL level? I want to see them. I do. Like, you've lost 7 of 8. I don't care that most of them have been close. You didn't come out with points. You didn't even get to overtime. Like, I want to see what you got. Start bringing kids up. I'm not saying all at once. That's impossible. But integrate them in, because you need to see what you have.
Imagine if we just go to Warrior. We just go to Warrior tomorrow for morning skate, and they just have completely flipped the 2 rosters. Like Differs down in Providence. He's like, what the hell? It's just the entire
whole Boston team here. Differs just stunned. Who are these guys?
Hey, it'd be more entertaining than what we probably are expecting against an Islanders team that also isn't the most riveting product out there either. But hey, they're playing more of a structured game and they got an elite young talent that I'll be probably watching him more than a bunch of veterans who no-showed the night before, right? So
yeah,
that's how I'm
I
feeling.
just it. I'm surprised it's gone off the rails this quick. Like I am. I mean, I know
Yeah.
they're not good, obviously, but like I expect them to be a little more competitive. And even you go back to those 1-goal losses all throughout, all the ones they had. And yeah, they fought hard, and that's fine. It's an improvement off last year. But also, like, come out with a point or two. Like, that's what a mid team would do. And so now we're starting to see the dam break a little bit. And I'm very interested to see how they respond against the Islanders Tuesday night, tomorrow night. Like, I don't know. You throw your hands up. And again, like, I'm going in circles here. But when you don't have guys like McAvoy who are playing at their best, and you have some games where Pastrnak isn't going to be your whole offense, this is the team you've got. This is what you get. And like, Sean Mann just says, I want to hear Evan and Connor to say it's time for Sweeney to go. By the way, someone earlier said, like, am I the only one who's off the Sweeney and Neely bus? Like, I think a lot of people have been off that bus for quite a while. I am getting to that point where it's like, you're in this position because of Sweeney and Neely. This is not like, the players have to perform. Players got to play. But the roster construction is bad. Like you and I, Connor, both agree that like, going for the piss and vinegar style is just not great.
Yeah, I'm just seeing. I feel like I'm getting yelled at, and I'm getting
screamed at. It's like 10:58 on a Tuesday.
Say
man.
my name.
Say my name. Who am I? My thing is this. I am getting to that point where, do I trust that? I think it's more so this. I think it's Cam Neely. I do.
I just saw the comments as we have piss and piss.
No vinegar, just piss and piss. Incredible.
This is why I love doing these live
That's
shows,
it.
everyone.
That's the show.
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody for tuning in. They take that identity, and I do think it is heart of heart. I blame Sweeney for this, but like I do think they want to go towards a more younger, faster team. I do, and you saw that in the draft. Like that was an encouraging thing. Will Moore, James Higgins, Cooper Simpson. Like that's the kind of guy you got to go for. And they really did make an effort to do that. But you go into free agency and I don't know what's coming, but I mean, if someone said if they did make a switch at GM and team president, I'm not fighting it. I'm not fighting it.
I think you especially just look at like what this team needs to do to like create as much of a clean slate as possible as they're like bringing in younger players. And like, it feels like you at least accelerated things a bit with like just trading off guys in March, right? Like you probably accelerated what was going to be a very, very long rebuild just by moving all those pieces, getting some picks back, what have you. But then like, I feel like if the Bruins went into this offseason being like, we are embracing the young guys, means there's going to be some growing pains, but like, this is what we're going to try to do. This is what we're looking to get out of this group. We're going to give these young guys a shot. We're going to take stock of what our
the comments after losses are so much better.
I know I have to like stay like focused on like the camera because
we're not used to doing it live.
But no, like if they went at the end of last year, or like let's say they don't sign anyone, they don't sign like the Genots or like the fourth line scrappers in free agency, and they're like, no, we are embracing the youth movement. We're seeing what we have in Providence. We're taking stock of these guys that we want to see more from, and we're going to roll with it. It's almost like, remember when the Rangers, Tim Shalla dangled and scored on them, and they immediately released a statement of like, we suck, everyone.
Sorry.
Everyone get the hot hats on. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you get like a statement like that, but like some sort of, transparent, signal that's like the direction the team is going in. Again, to what I said earlier, like Bruins fans aren't dumb. Like they know like usually the necessary steps that need to be taken to get this team back on the right track. So if this team was, let's say it was the same record, right? 4-7, bottom of near the bottom of the Eastern Conference, and you had Lysell and Patra and all these guys in these spots, Brunet, right? All struggling. Yeah, Bruins fans would probably be pissed that I could just keep on losing, but it's part of the plan. It's part of what you expected. And I think there's probably a lot of Bruins fans who were like expecting this anyway, but you're also now with a team that is still saddled with a lot of guys signed to deals that, it's not like the Bruins have one or two like burdensome, like are just like hamstringing them, but they're like, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? You got, Middlestad making close to $6 million. You got Henry Jokiharju, who they signed for 3 years for $3 million, when it's like you could have also just let him walk. You got Corpusalo in that contract. You've got all these different players, even like AC Mont, some of these players that like, I don't know, would you rather just see like Riley Duran get let loose there or someone like that? That's where I think you're muddying the waters, or it feels like the Bruins did what they had to do in March to rip the Band-Aid off. As much as that sucked, it's what you had to do. And it feels like they're trying to get the best of both worlds, right? We're like, well, we sold at the deadline. We got young guys coming in. So like, we're right back at it. We're going to be competitive. We're going to be a hard out. We got Hagen. So we don't have to really worry about like, we're just going to like build things back up that way. And it's like, no, I feel like you had to lean into it this year and see what you have in the younger players. And it feels like now you're just biding your time with a team that has not been as advertised as a physical team, as a hard out, any of those things. I mean, if Nick Cousins is rifling pucks past you, you're having a rough night. So it's frustrating.
They built a team for the 90s and they play like a team would now. Like and that's like, again, I say beginning of the year, it is the beginning of the year, but like first 4 games, it was like, oh, they play just like a roster like that should. They're not going to be great. They're not great, but they're in and around. Like they play the way they should. They're not playing the way they should because it's so bleh. There's just nothing. Oh my God, there's nothing. I want to get to this comment. I promise we'll get to the Zacha trade. I don't want to keep us here all night because nobody wants to revel in this forever. Mark, this is courtesy of Ty Anderson. Thank you, Ty, for tweeting this out because I didn't watch. I've been here. I can't watch the post game. Sermed in essence, Andy Brickley post game. Quote, you got to buy in or not. That's right there. That's the difference. If you look at Ottawa, they do it and we're not. Third time in a week he's mentioned buy-in / commitment / not everyone doing enough. Who's not on the bus? Who's not buying in? Who's not buying in? I mean, maybe you can tell off the ice. I think it's something that someone like Charlie McAvoy is having a really bad start to this year. And I will say, after Thursday's loss to the Ducks, McAvoy was as passionate as I'd seen him, being like, we are trying. We are and that's what makes me think he probably isn't one of the people that's not bought in. But the on-ice play says otherwise. There's a ton of guys, and I just wonder, like, who does Sturm not think is bought in? And why are those people still in the lineup? Yeah. If this clearly is a common thing. Who is not bought in? Now, there are some guys you can't take out of the lineup. I get contracts or star players. If it was someone like Pastrnak or McAvoy, and I don't think that it is, but if it was, yeah, they can't come out. They can't come out. Like, they can't come out. But who is it? You would be benching half the team, Evan. You're right. Well, it's like, who is it in Vegas said to someone on the Bruins bench, like, you're going to be back in the AHL or you shouldn't even be here or something. And yes. Someone quoted and was like, that's like over half the bench.
The whole team was like,
are you talking to me? Like, you might have a point. Who is it? Like, this clearly is a problem.
It's you're having way too many passengers, right? Like, it's the same thing of what I said earlier. Even if Hampus Lindholm comes back, is he accounting for the flaws of like half the team? Like, it's not just one thing. It'd be one thing. It almost would be easier, if not more concerning, if like Swayman every night was just Swiss cheese, like you're seeing with like the 2 goalies in St. Louis, where both those guys are just getting lit up like routinely, like seeing eye shots from long range. That'd be concerning, but at least that's like one issue you have here. You're just seeing all across, whether it's the buy-in, on back checking, you're seeing it, the D zone breakdown, everything. Look at like even what was one of the few positives you had for this team going into today's game? Well, they take a lot of penalties, but the PK has been bailing them out. They're giving a shit there. The hell was that today? Like, where is that buy-in? 4 or 5 was the thing. So it's like
McAvoy, multiple penalties.
And again, like you can also be like Charlie McAvoy and be passionate of like you're trying so hard and all those things. And like to your point earlier, where you're like, these guys aren't not trying, they give a shit. But like you can also say that, but if you're not executing it on the ice, if you're not picking up whatever the D zone adjustments that Marco Sturm is mapping out there, and maybe it also falls on Sturm to like go back to basics, maybe just go back to zone, what a lot of these guys have been in for a while now. Like maybe that has to be the case as well. I just think you look at just how the Bruins are playing and just the lack of cohesion, right? The lack of building off of anything. I even just look at within the lens of what this past couple of days were. Yeah, you lose 6 games in a row. You come back and you play the game you have to play if you are going to be competitive against Colorado. And everyone said afterwards, right? The same guys like Morgan Geeky who said they were embarrassed on Thursday were like, we got a lot of work to do. But man, it feels like we can really build off a game like this, a game where how you have to play is validated, right? And then how the hell do you have a game like that? And then everyone no-shows 2 days later, right? It's almost like if you lost it's almost like the loss today is what I think a lot of people were expecting was going to happen on Saturday against a much better Colorado team.
Yes.
You know, it's almost like Final Destination, you know, and like death, like the dude like ducks it at the last second. He avoids like a log flying through his CIV, or he's like, I'm not going to get on the plane, and explodes. But then like death comes for them like later on. Like the Bruins like ducked it with like McKinnon didn't score at the end of that game. They're like, all right, woo, we avoided it. And then like the Grim Reaper was waiting up in the parking lot up in Canada Tire. Yeah, it was Drake Patterson. Like it was inevitable that it was going to happen. So yeah, I just don't know how. If you're talking about buy-in, commitment, and like the commitment to building something, even when this team, you know, even like you listen to what Marco Sturm said on like Behind the Beat and all these things, like there has been a transparency of like, we know we don't have all the horses. We know we're not a skilled team. We're not going to outskill a lot of guys, but what we can control is how hard we work and how much we can all be bought into the same plan. And then you have a game like this. It's like, who is bought in then? How do you not buy in after that game on Saturday of like, we're so desperate, we're trying so hard, and then you have a game where you get run out of the building up in Ottawa? It's confounding, I think, is probably the best way to put it. Like, I don't know, Evan.
Where you don't defend the front of your own net. Like, why defend the front of your own net? Like, don't. Shout out to SideQuest Life. Needed this therapy. Thanks, boys. This is the thing. People, after losses like this, it is cathartic. Because if I didn't do this, I'd just be texting people or I'd be doom scrolling Twitter. And this is fun. Like this isn't fun. That's not the way to put it. This is better than just sitting and being angry by myself. It's good to be angry in a community of people. It's better. It's better. So thank you, SideQuest Life. We've done a lot on this game. We'll probably do more. I do want to touch on the Zacha trade rumors because when Elliot Friedman speaks, you got to listen, and that means big stuff. Elliot Friedman came out Saturday night and said that the Canucks had called last week on Zacha. You and I have talked a fair amount about Zacha trade rumors. Again, $4.75 million, super cap hit, can play anywhere, has been productive this year. I mean, it's hard to say that after tonight, but he has been good so far to start this year. Still has a year more left on his deal. So if you're getting him this year, you're getting another year of control with him. Very valuable asset. I still say don't trade him don't start really going until the deadline. But if the Canucks knock your socks off, if they offer you Willander in a first, or another top prospect in a first, which I think is what you should get for Zacha, if not more, like you have to do it. I at this point, like he's a valuable commodity, and this, around now, or if it is close to the deadline, might be the most you're going to get for a guy like him.
Yeah, if you're looking at how miserable this year is, if there's one area where you can say the Bruins have some sort of position of strength, is that they at least have in Zacha a coveted asset that you don't have to trade him, right? He's not on an expiring deal, which is further boosting his value. But it means you can also hold out for what you think is going to be an offer that is going to knock you over, as you said, right? Like I'm not trading him for, a second and a prospect. I'm not trading him even for like a low level, like, the third, like the 29th overall pick or something like that. But if Vancouver, who is smitten with that type of player, and again, like I think Zacha's had a really good year. He's had a couple of really good years for the Bruins in general, right? He's good in faceoffs. He can play down the middle. He can play on the wing. He's averaged 54 points per season during his time with the Bruins. He's a good player on a great contract under term for next year. Like there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be lining up to get him. And, to what this comment is about, like, wasn't initially on the Zacha trade train. Like, I agree. Like, I also don't think it's like a foregone conclusion that like you have to trade Zacha. Like, I could easily see if you are able to right the ship in a year or two, he's like still a key contributor, kind of like what Geeky is now, right? And I don't think the Bruins are trading Geeky now that he signed that deal. But if this is kind of where your team is at, and you are looking at a longer rebuild, and especially if you're just trying to maximize this year of misery, and Vancouver, who is so desperate, even if it's maybe not the best long-term move for them, but they're like, holy shit, Quinn Hughes is going to move to New Jersey in a year or two. We have to do whatever we can to placate him. They're desperate to get back on the winning track, and they freak out and give you a first-round pick and a Willander or Brendan Coots, who like is 18 and almost made the team out of training camp. Like, you got to do that trade. And like, again, that might tick off David Pastrnak, who's buddies with Zacha, and like, he's still a really good player. And it's a shame that whenever this team does kind of get back to being a contending team, Zacha's not part of it, because I think he would fit that mold of a player you trudge through and he helps you out on the other side of what you're trying to build here. But if you are just trying to max out another year of misery, and you trade Zacha, which also is going to make your team worse, which means if you go into the draft in June and you got a top 10, if not top 5 pick, along with the 18th overall pick and the 16th overall pick from Toronto and Vancouver and Willander and Coots, and you got Hagens coming in, I'll take that. Right.
Yeah. Like, it's going to be a little bit.
Yeah. It's like, I do think that if Zacha continues to play the way he's playing, you're going to have teams that are really desperate that want that player. And I think you could probably get a good return for him. So I'm not trading him just for the sake of trading him. But also, I would be surprised if a team that is really desperate for a second line center under contract, I feel like a team is going to want to overpay for him. And if you're the Bruins, you got to be prepared to pull the trigger, because you just need assets, right? I don't want them trading for Connor Garland or a guy who's 28, 29 or something like that. Like, no. Give me a first and give me a legit prospect that could help you by as early as next year, if not the year after that. I think it's what you got to do.
And this is why I wonder if the Bruins leaked that the Canucks talked to them last week, because you're getting this out. You tell Friedman this, Friedman's going to put it out there, and other teams are going to hear this and go, oh shoot, we need a second line center, or we need a second or third line left wing who can kill penalties and play power play time. We have the horses to go get a guy like Zacha. Let's get in on this. And suddenly the price is driven up, and other teams are getting in on this because like, oh, Friedman's saying this, Vancouver may be close. And we, if you're Florida or Vegas or whomever, we need to get in on this too. I wonder if that happened. I do wonder. And I don't have any, that's not fact, not based on any fact. That's just complete speculation. I do wonder if they put that out there for that reason, to drive the price up and to force Vancouver to give them the most amount. Vancouver is very intriguing too. It's not like if you got like, I don't know if Vegas or Florida have their first round pick for this upcoming draft, but if they did, it's probably not going to be that high. Like, it probably isn't. Vancouver, there's a chance it could be somewhere in like the high teens, early 20s.
Dude, Elias Pettersson like looks kind of cooked.
So again, like, that could be a legit good top like 17 pick. So I'm for that. Like, if that's what you can get and a high end prospect, I have a hard time saying no to that. Now, a lot of the comments point to this, and you and I have talked about this quite a bit with Pastrnak. Like, does Pastrnak want to stick through this? I'm not saying you trade him. My God, like, absolutely not. Do not trade David Pastrnak. I would never say that. But like, again, I even saw him on, see him on the ice just on TV tonight. I mean, he looks dejected when there was one rush where it was either Geeky or Lindholm went way off sides, and they had to kind of regroup, and the puck, they ended up with an icing. Like, they ended up just icing it. Like, it just fell apart. And on one of the goals, I think Pastrnak was out there with Houston Dinoff and Corrali, if I'm not mistaken. And I just wonder, like, Zacha's seems like a friend of his. And if he's gone, And suddenly it's like, all right, you've got all these picks, but as you said, like, or, as I said when you were talking, like, it's going to be a couple of years. Hagen's plus the first you have this coming year, plus a Will Moore. Like, that's not going to really hit its stride for many years, or for, at least 2 to 4. Does a guy in his prime want to go through that? Who's at the peak of his powers? Like, it just feels like you're wasting him. That's the worst part of this. No, I don't think Pastrnak's gone, but I just wonder, like, what's his feeling about all of these things? What's his honest feeling about all these things? Like, I can't get over that.
That's why you are playing with fire, right? And that's also why I feel like I'd rather you, if you are going to like tank this year, like I'd rather you have just done it starting like going into the season of being like, we're giving the young guys a look here, because it at least is accelerating things, right? Like the priority should be like getting through a suck year like last year and what's looking like this year as soon as possible and showing some signs of progress, right? Like if the Bruins do this for 3-4 years, then yeah, Pasternak's going to want out. If you like really embrace a tank this year and Pastrnak opens the year with Hagens and McKenna on his line, maybe he's like, all right, I can stick around for this. Or, you're seeing just the way they're bringing in younger players and they've have money to work with. And that's, I'm saying, if they didn't sign all these burdensome contracts the last year or two, right?
Yes.
Like if you at least had a clean slate of like, hey, we'll bring in your guy Marty. Like Marty maybe he's going to look at the way the team's playing, but we're going to give him a shit ton of money. We're going to give him $15 million a year and overpay and have him come here. And you got, Hagens and all these other young players, Verhoff, name any of them coming on this team. Like it's all about, I think, mapping out a clear vision, right, of what you want this team to be. You can say like, oh, we're going to build things up, and that's all well and good. But until you have the actual guys in the pipeline, what's a player going to see from that? Like what's David Pastrnak going to see until he sees Gavin McKenna and James Hagens out there on the ice with them, or Keaton Verhoff or one of these other players? Like if you really embrace the suck for a year or two and you get, and you move off pieces and have younger players in the system that are making strides, then at least you can paint the picture, map out the vision of what you're trying to get for David Pastrnak. You're still kind of in like this weird no man's land right now where it feels like we know this team's in line for a top 10 pick, but what is the identity? What was the message echoed from, ownership and management of what this team is going to be? Because if they were all on board with them being a competitive team and they sold that to the players, and then this is the same result, that's when you're like, if you're a player and you're a guy who's performing like Pastrnak, you're like, the hell's going on here?
There are people saying, Pastrnak will end up in LA, Pastrnak trade. You can't let one of the top 3 goal scorers in the league go. You're losing that trade. I don't care what you're getting back. You're losing that trade. You're losing that trade. You can't, like, that's the thing. You said it. Like, it's a fine line. You're walking a tightrope. And to Floyd's question, like, do you think Club Brass overestimated this roster again this year like they did last season? I think they thought it's a bridge year. And I'm not trying to speak for them, but I think they also thought that a team with this sort of physicality would be a tougher opponent. I don't think they fully accounted for that. They're just not speedy.
What we said before the start of the year, right?
Yeah.
Like they're hovering around the wild. I was the one who said they'd be the final team in the wild card, but I think without a doubt, the more reasonable approach, the more measured approach that wasn't a reach or anything was saying, yeah, they're going to be in the mix. They're going to be playing meaningful hockey in March and April because they're clogging up the neutral zone. They're playing boring hockey, but they can outmuscle and slow teams down enough that they'll be in the mix most of these games. They're going to be winning 3-1, 3-2, or losing 3-2, or 2-1 games, all that kind of stuff. That's what we all expected. We didn't expect them to let go of the road completely defensively, and that's what's surprising about.
Pastrnak Jumbo Joe vibes. That I don't fully agree with that. I don't like that analogy. I don't like that one a lot. I do like Mike Professional. It's honestly too much piss right now. That's the
title of this episode. Too much piss.
Too much
piss. Piss and piss.
Too much piss. Piss and piss. That might be the title. This has been therapeutic. I think we've hit on everything. We'll obviously have more throughout the week. By the way, make sure to subscribe to Bruins Ringside. Thank you all, because we hit 10,000 subscribers. Oh my God, the piss analogies are getting to be too much. We've broken the dam of piss with this. So,
Dude, it is. We're not even at Halloween yet, Evan. We're already like that's
no,
also the
what's
shocking thing. Like
scary.
we weren't having like James Hagen's like serious like top 5 pick things until like February, when it feels like the team was inevitably going to start selling off guys. We are. It's not even Halloween yet. We haven't even. You go on, you watch TV. You don't even have like the Target ads yet for Christmas. It's not November 1st yet. Stuff isn't switching over, and we're already at this point, which is wild. Even if I thought this team was going to be in the tank and have a top 5 pick, did not expect it to hit this inflection point October 27th.
Wouldn't it be funny if they end up like just getting so hot and they're like the Blues in
We have to be like,
2019?
delete this footage. I
We
always
never
believe
did this. This was AI. We didn't
You know
actually
what?
do this.
If that's the case, and they have like, that playoff hype video they had in 2017-18 where it was just dubbed over with Mike Felga, and it's just like roasting them. If that's us being like, there's too much piss on this team, and they're selling
Piss and
season
piss.
tickets, that's fine. Like
You use it. You
the
full
stance.
you
The
take it.
stance at the time was the same as it would be. I'm not changing the stance of like the team is playing like shit, so I'm going to call them out.
Yes.
If that's the case, I would be honored to be featured in a video like that. But as of right now, I'm not feeling too good about those odds, Evan.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. I am not either. Boys need some Calico Cup fans. That's right. They come like this. They come like
They
this.
do.
We just hit 10K on YouTube, and I can't thank you guys enough. Connor, you and I have been with this channel, doing this channel since its inception. I think like 2020, doing this during the pandemic and stuff. So it's an honor to hit 10K, and it's an honor, honestly, to do this all the time. And you guys make it possible. And even on nights like tonight, I wouldn't want to be with anybody else. This is as fun as it gets.
And this is a blast too, talking after a game. Again, it's one of the reasons why I love what I do, is also just getting to cover this team, but to get to interact with Bruins fans, people that, I grew up in Boston. I know how passionate these fans are, and to be able to talk hockey with, thousands of fans who give a shit every single day, and the ups and downs is what makes this the best job ever. And I love cracking jokes on whether it's on Twitter, on these live streams, talking about Calico cut pants, all that stuff. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So again, shout out to all you guys. And I also have had a lot of fun doing these kind of videos that I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more of these. Win or lose, might be a few more losses in the future, but I think it's a good way to kind of take stock, immediately after a game. Get, I think, also the reaction from fans, get a laugh as well.
Yes.
So I'm sure we'll do a lot more of these, because it actually has been a whole bunch of fun.
It's a blast. These are fun, and I'm glad we're doing them and getting in the habit. Even when they stink and they lose 7-2, it's fun to do these. So make sure to subscribe, Bruins Ringside. And by the way, this audio will be up on it goes to the regular Bruins Beat, Poke the Bear, or Pucks with Hags feed on Apple, Spotify, where you get your podcasts from. And I know Garden Report's going right now on CLNS for Celtics, and CLNS has a million things going on today and this time of year. Patriots Press Pass, Celtics All Access, all that great stuff. So yeah, this was fun. This actually, I feel like the end, we really like wrapped a bow on it. All the piss. We just put a bow on all the piss. It was just fantastic.
It's great. Yeah.
That's actually, before we go, Connor, what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, you can read my stuff over at the Globe and Boston.com. We'll have you covered every step of the way this Bruins season, through the ups and what looks like a lot more downs. We'll have you covered. So please read my stuff over on Boston.com and the Boston Globe. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners, have a great rest of your night.